In this video, we're going to continue to talk about AutoCAD, and we're gonna continue to talk about the interface and how we can customize and where we can set up the basic settings to manage the units, for example. And so we will continue with really simple things, and then later we will increase a little bit the difficulty. So we're gonna start again from the application menu at the top here. So the first thing you might want to know is how you can save in AutoCAD. Now you can go here and do save as if you need to save a new file. So this is gonna be, for example, a new file for me. Now you can also assign here a folder where you can store all the files in the future. So I'm gonna go here and navigate into my specific folder, which is this one here, click and drag it, and then I will always get it from here. And I'm gonna call this lesson 2. Now you may notice that the format here is DWG, which is the basic CAD format, but if you click here you can expand this and you have other versions. Now another important thing to know when you first start to use AutoCAD or similar software is that you always need to save in a version that's in a previous version if you want to send it to someone who has, for example, the 2015. So in this case I should save it in 2013, otherwise that person will not be able to open it. So also if someone is gonna send an AutoCAD file for you, it needs to be like 2022 or previous version, otherwise you cannot open it. So you must be careful on that when you need to exchange file with other people. Now you have two types of formats in AutoCAD. The first one is DWG, the other one is the XF, and these are basically the same. They do pretty much the same thing, except that the XF is more compatible with other application. For example, if you need to export this in Revit and continue to work in Revit or also in a 3D software, probably you would use the XF to be, well, more secure that it's gonna work. And also you have here a driving template, which is something that you can create, customize, and so you can always start from that. But well, let's keep it simple at the moment. I'm gonna just save this as lesson 2. So I'm gonna save it, and that's it. Now again, we are doing really basic operations. We are starting from the beginning and then we will move on little by little, so don't worry if you don't know AutoCAD or if you never ever open up an application before. So let's move on. What else we have here? We can of course open a file, and again the same logic applies also here, so you can choose the DWG, DXF or DWT. So in this case I already opened that, so I will not do that again, but this is another example just to show you, and we will get to this shortly. Okay, so this is an empty space again. Remember to scroll a little bit the scroll wheel of your mouse so that you can see the UCS, and this is the user coordinate system sign, so it's showing you the X and the epsilon basically. Okay, let's go back here, and so you can also import inside AutoCAD. You can import images, you can import PDFs. If you go here you will see all the formats that you can insert, and also, well, we can do also more stuff in talking about import. Export, here you can see these are the formats, and always go to other formats to see which other ones are available. For example, in this case we have something more here, and let's go down. So you can publish, you can print if you have a printer, or you can plot, and these are kind of the finishing part of the path. So it's gonna be these last operations that we will do. And then we have drawing utilities. This is pretty important, especially for, well, not the others like drawing properties. You can go here basically and you will find all the information about this drawing here. So generic information, and also you can add title, subject, and other tags or meta tags, metadata actually. And then the really important thing here is the units. This is the first thing that you probably want to customize. And well, if you don't want to customize it, but you need to know what your units are, because every time you draw something here, it's gonna be on that particular units. So for example, if I create again a really simple line, click there, and it's gonna show me there a length. So it's gonna show me numbers. What does numbers mean? So what does 1087 mean? It means that we are approximately creating a line that's gonna be long 1 meter. So 1000 millimeters equals 1 meters. So the basic units of AutoCAD, unless you change it, are millimeters. So every time you're gonna create something in AutoCAD, it's gonna be in millimeters. So if we go back here, drawing utilities, units, you can see that right here. This is decimal, this is the precision, and this is the units, which is millimeters. Now we can change the units here. We can make it centimeters if you want. We can make it inches. So if we want to change here also from decimal to architecture, we can change the type. Now you can also create something really big here. If you go into this list, you can see there are like light years. So you can do something representing space, or something representing really small objects, or biological viruses or things like that, if you go really small. So you can definitely, you have a really wide range of options here. So I'm gonna stick with millimeters because this is the default, and I'm gonna try to stay really basic and in the default state so that you don't get confused. But remember this, if you don't touch this panel here, you're gonna work with millimeters. So many people, the first time they open AutoCAD, they think that 1 unit equals 1 meter. So they start to draw around with the line and type, for example, 1, and they think that they are creating a line that's long 1. Well, it is long 1 meter, but just in their head, because in reality, you're gonna work with millimeters. And later, you're gonna change that and you can make it whatever you want. But when you start, remember that you work in millimeters. So let's create a line here just as we did in the previous video. But this time I'm not just gonna click around with my left mouse and create the line and then press ESC, but I want to give more precise instructions. I want to start to use more commands, more precise commands. So I'm gonna click again with the left mouse, and this time I will select it. You can see it selected in blue and then deleted with the delete key. And again, pick the line tool. And this time you can see here it's telling me specify first point. Now you can see that that highlighted part in blue, it's the X value. So if I type 0, if I click 0 on my keyboard, it's gonna insert that first value. So the first value is gonna be 0, so X equals 0. Now I press tab again and press 0 again on my keyboard. So I'm telling AutoCAD that the first point needs to be at x0 and epsilon 0, which means the perfect origin of my UCS, which is my user coordinate system. So if I press enter, that's where my line is going to start, precisely in the middle of my scene, in the origin of my scene. So it's always then asking me for a next point, because otherwise we won't have a line. We need to have 2 points or 2 vertices in order to create a line, or we can call it also a vector. We are working with vector graphics. So this time you can see that the length is highlighted. This tag now is showing me the length of this line. So what if I want to create a line that's perfectly 1 meter? Well, in this case, I need to remember that I'm working in millimeters and type 1,000 and press enter. And this is gonna be the length of my line. Now let's move forward and let's go this time to create a following line. So we will not press ask, we will continue. Now you can see that it's asking me just for the next point, which is gonna be like a third point actually, but it's the second point of this vector right here where I'm at. So what I can do here, I can type again 1 meter, so 1,000, but this time I will not click randomly. By the way, you can see that if you move your mouse, that's gonna be like fixed there, it's gonna be staying there in that point. So it will not follow your mouse, the crosshair there is gonna stay there. So what we can do here, we typed 1000 for the length. Now if we press tab again, you can see that right now I am in the degrees. So the length of the segment or the vector stays the same. What changes is the degree, but I can also set a precise value for the degree. So I can say 45 degrees and press enter. And this is going to create the next segment. And I can continue to move on. Now I just want to ask or exit. So I'm going to press the exit or ask key on my keyboard. So I've created these two segments, but this time I've created them by using actual units and really precise. So this is a segment of precisely 1 meter and is also okay. You can see here that if I continue to click, it's gonna select everything I will click on. Okay, press ask, and again we're gonna get back to this later. This is just to show you the basics. Remember that if you click once in an empty space and then move to the left, you're gonna create this green window that is gonna select all the elements that is gonna touch. Okay, now let's talk about a little bit of customization. So we saw here how we can customize the units. Now if we go down there and go to the options, well, this is also a customization area or a series of panels actually. Now the files are where the AutoCAD is getting its information. For example, information about the plot and publish or template settings or PDF import location and so on. So this is probably the most boring. I'm not gonna go through everything because it's gonna be really boring. So I'm just gonna show you briefly what the options panel is, and then you can get there when you need it, because it's not this is not mandatory. This is just to show you some things that could be useful, but not, let's say, paramount, not necessary. So if you go here in the display, for example, you can change the display from light to dark, and you can go here one by one. You can see that there are a lot of settings and options and parameters. For example, the crosshair, which is the one that we see when we move around in AutoCAD. You can increase the size or you can also decrease it, and this is your choice, depends on how you like it the most. So that's the crosshair right there, and it's substituting the standard mouse arrow. Okay, and again you can, well, these are, I cannot explain to you all these parameters because you don't really know what they are, so I can only make theory, but it's gonna be really boring. This is why, but probably we will get back here later, or you can get back once you understand what we are talking about. Remember that this is the area where you customize a lot of things. Now also the file save, when you do save as, this is gonna be the standard 2018, but you can change that and make 2013 the standard. So each time you're gonna save, you are gonna start with this and then you can change other formats. And also this one here is pretty important, which is the automatic save. Now, if you are working on a really important project and you forgot to save, and your computer accidentally shuts down or whatever is going to happen to your computer, you lose everything that you've done so far. But if you have automatic save on, you can save a lot of your work. Now, usually I set this value a little bit lower, like every 5 minutes or every 3 minutes, because it depends how fast you are. You can do a lot of things in 3 minutes. You can do just a line in 3 minutes. This depends on you, and this is another value that you can customize definitely. Now also another really important shortcut key is Ctrl plus S, which is gonna save your work right away. So let me show you that. I'm just gonna apply this and say Ctrl S. Well, before I actually press on Ctrl S, I just want to point out another important information. You can see that up here, this is the name of our project, and it has this little star there. That star is telling us that the project is not saved. So it's reminding us that we should probably save. And this is an action that I do often, and it's Ctrl S on the keyboard, and this stands for saving or quick saving. Now, if you already have the name, it's not going to ask you anything, but if you create a new one here and do again Ctrl S, it's going to bring you back in the saving as panel, because we didn't really actually save this before, so it doesn't know what to save and what name. So we need to first of all save something as, and then the following savings will be really quick with the Ctrl S. Also from here you have the quick save, and also here you have save as. So you can see that all this stuff is gonna be part of your experience in AutoCAD every time you're gonna use AutoCAD. Okay, let's go back again in the options. Let's see something more that can be interesting. Now, plot and publish, again, this is something that you usually do at the end. So remember that you have some extra customization here, but this is not at the moment something that we need to spend time on. Performance, I think this is something we should give a look. So I'm gonna click here, and you can see that hardware acceleration is on, and also that it's detecting my video card. And well, I don't know if this is actually your video card, but if it's not detected, or if you experience something strange in the interface, or when you're using AutoCAD, if you see black things appearing or anything that it's not showing as you are seeing the software right now, then you probably have a problem for the hardware acceleration. So as it suggests here, just turn it off, and this should solve your problems. So again, if you have other questions about issues and also about things that you don't understand, you can also write your comments, and we're gonna try to give suggestions. Also, other users can give their suggestions through the comments. Okay, so well, we're gonna turn it on for the moment, and it's gonna create some nice effects here, like shadows and highlights and things like that. But it's gonna take a little bit of memory. But don't worry about that if you have a decent device, decent laptop or desktop. Okay, other things here that we may need. No, let's move on. User preferences. Well, this is actually again something that you should consider later when you use the software for a little bit of time, that you can understand what you can actually modify. So for example, here you can change the behavior of the right click, and here also you have block editor settings, which is the basically another editor, and it has its own colors. You can customize all these colors. Also you can, well, you can see here there are many things you can customize, line weight, so on. And also in drafting and selection, actually you can customize the way you can see here the snap. So snaps are something that again we're gonna see later, so I'm just gonna show you here that basically you can change the size, you can change some parameters, even though you don't really know what they are, but don't change too much. Maybe change it later when you know what snap is and what other things are. Selection, this one here we know. So the pick box size is that little square when we roll over an object before we select it. And also we can make this bigger or smaller. Grip size is after we selected the object, we can see the grips, which will give us more option and more commands to work with that particular line or particular polyline or whatever object we will create. And again, we have a bunch of other options here. Just remember that you will find it here when you're ready to customize it a little bit. Now, my suggestion is don't touch anything that you don't really know what it means. Maybe change it later when we will make other lessons about those topics. We already talked about the quick access toolbar here at the top, and we saw that if we click here on this arrow, we can customize it. We can customize it by showing more commands so that we can add more commands here, and you will see all the commands in the software. So if I type line, it's going to show me the line command or anything that has that word inside. So this is the line, and you can click that and drag it and place it into the customization of the quick access toolbar. Okay, and again you can then decide to turn him off or on by clicking here. Look for the one that we just inserted, which is not visible, so let's just right click and remove like that. Remember also these two are really important to undo and redo your actions, and be careful on where you click. And also this is going to give you a brief history of what you've done in terms of navigation, pan and zoom, and creating lines. So you can click and go to a precise point in the history, going backward, and the same also going forward. So maybe I want to just go a little bit back here where I created my lines. And here we already saw that we can change drafting and annotation interface. So if you open up workspace, and let's also open up properties, and that's it for now. So drafting and annotation here is the workspace we are using, but you can create your own. You can customize your interface. So if you go here, this is the beginning of the customization. So you can see that right now we are using this one here, this setup here, and then we have this workspace here and only this one here. And for this, we can see it has contents and properties, and if we go down here, we see the various menus that we have, so we can represent those in different ways. So it gets really complex. You don't really, again, need to do that right now, but just know that there is a point where you can customize everything. Now, what is probably more interesting is that you have extra palettes or panels. So if properties is one of the most important. So if you click there, you can click and drag and place this around wherever you want, and you can expand this. You can also dock it here in the left side or in the right side. So I'm gonna dock it here just to customize a little bit the interface. And some palettes or panels are really interesting. Properties is one of those. Now I'm going to show you some more. So before we actually create our customization here, our customized workspace, I want to show you a little bit more. So other possibility here to manage our interface are here in the manage ribbon. So we can see that we can go in the user interface again, and we can go in the tool palettes, and it opened up this one here right now, but I'm gonna show you also where you can open it up. So you have a series of palettes basically. Again, here you have many different settings if you are interested, like double click actions. Okay, let's discard everything. And let's go to view, which is the next one we're gonna see. Now here we can find, first of all, the UCS icon. If we want that on or off, we can turn it on and off. And we have the navigation bar, which is this part here in the right. We didn't actually talk about that, but this is interesting as well. And well, we find again the pan, so we can use it from here. And then we have a couple of extra zoom here, like zoom extents is going to show you the extents of your work. And then you have zoom window, so you're going to create a window by clicking one time and two times. It's kind of selecting like this or this. Now we're going to talk about selections a little bit more. And then we have here a series of palettes. So for example, we have the tool palettes, which is the one that came out before. And here we have a series of blocks again that we can use. I'm gonna click there and dock it. And they represent like callouts or annotations or actual furniture, or you can see there windows, doors with a plan view. And this little thunderbolt here represents the fact that they are dynamic, so they can be changed parametrically, so basically using the parameters. But again, we're gonna see that later. And then you have other, here you have a calculator, which could always be interesting. It's a pretty complex calculator, by the way. You can add also measurements there. And then we have the design center. Let's go to English and go to design center. So here you can find a lot of blocks that you can use. Now, what is a block? You will find blocks also on the internet. They're basically components that have been already prepared for you, and you can use it in your work. You can also create your own blocks. Now again, you can see that it's asking me for the insertion point. So if I type again 0, tab 0 and press enter, and then it's asking me the scale. Let's keep it 1, so I'm gonna press enter, and the scale for the X again, enter, and now the rotation, let's keep it 0 and enter. So when you enter, you get those values that you find there. And these are other blocks here from AutoCAD. So you can see there's a little bit of furnishing or appliances and things like that. So you can close again something when you're finished. Now let's say that this is my customized interface. I like it this way. Now what you can do is go here and go to save current as, and I'm gonna call this whatever and save it. And this is gonna be now available for me anytime. So I can go back to the original drafting annotation, or I can take back mine if I like it more. Now in this case, again, I'm gonna keep it simple, I'm gonna keep it standard. So I'm gonna work with the standard drafting and annotation in AutoCAD. Now let's just finish with a couple of extra commands. So I'm gonna select everything here, because you can see this is showing me one element, one block. So again, if you do zoom extents, you can then frame your objects. And if you want instead to see only one object, so if you select, remember that to exit the selection you need to press ESC. So if I select only that segment and I go here, I can click on zoom object and it's gonna zoom only on that object. So this is our a couple of really interesting tools that we find. Also zoom all, pretty similar to zoom extent, zoom dynamic, and zoom in, zoom out. You can figure them out, but again, if you do something strange, try to get back to your original settings. Now one last thing I want to show you here is when you lose yourself, so you don't really know what to do, the first suggestion is press ESC. And also If you get lost in your walls like that, sometimes you cannot find it, you don't know if you are too big or too small, just click there on zoom extents and you're gonna focus on what you are doing. So this will be all for this lesson in AutoCAD. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please support us by joining also our channel and write your comments again. If you want, you can ask for assistance. So thanks for watching and see you in the next video.